Hello everybody, we are back with another game, a TA related game. Guys, I've been wanting to cast an escalation game recently, but if I'm being completely honest, there just hasn't been that many escalation games to cast. So I have been branching out to the other games in the franchise, looking for content. And yeah, if you guys have any escalation replays for me to cast, be sure to share them with me in Discord or wherever. But for now, I'm going to be casting a FAF game. These are a lot of fun to cast. This is a 2v2. So this is a little more interesting perhaps than the last one I did. We have Red here, Kelly, the Seraphim commander. And we have Yellow, the Cybran commander. His name is Ron Fonte. I think that's maybe how you pronounce it. But Red and Yellow are on one team, and the other team is Gray, Flying Olsen, the Seraphim commander. And in blue, we have Sulfur, the Cybran commander. So one thing you'll notice right from the start is that all this metal here in the middle, you can kind of see here the numbers on it. All that metal is very tasty, and Gray will be the first to reclaim that metal, giving his team an advantage. But Yellow is going to not let that happen for free. He is coming here to stop this a little bit. Excuse me, guys. Let me turn down the sound a little bit. I think it might be slightly too loud. But yeah, here at the beginning, a battle for the metal reclaim. Yellow's got to be careful, though. He is getting 2v1 by the northern team. And he could easily die. A 2v1 in this situation is very dangerous. And his teammate is nowhere to be found. So Yellow getting very low, and he may just retreat here into the water. Now, of course, once a commander gets into the water, he becomes relatively safe. The commanders cannot fire underwater, except the Cybran commander actually gets an upgrade. He gets a torpedo launcher. But I think the northern team will be content to simply chase him away and continue reclaiming to give them that early game metal advantage. In the meantime, Red with a single bomber here, attempting to get some bombing done, but Blue is on top of things and he will take that bomber out. So great job, great reaction there by Blue. There are a lot of similarities. I mean, obviously, this is a TA. You know, this is part of the franchise, you could say. So there are a lot of similarities with escalation, with like the early bombing runs. You know, that attempt to get an advantage over your opponent by crippling their economy with some nice bombing attempts or some early harassment. But no, in this game it doesn't seem to be making much of a difference, though in fairness I have certainly seen games where bombers could absolutely turn the tide. But right now, not too much happening. I think both teams are just kind of taking over their part of the map, just kind of getting their resources online. Now, one interesting thing, if you don't know, in Forge Alliance, the commanders do get upgrades. You can upgrade your commander from the very beginning, though it is usually somewhat expensive, so you don't want to do it at the very start. But once you have enough resources to afford the upgrade, there are various combat upgrades and health upgrades and shield upgrades and all kinds of different things you can do. It's really interesting. But this one that Gray is doing here will give his commander T2 capability, So it will increase his build speed dramatically and give him T2 tech, which is a pretty impressive upgrade early on. And yellow also doing that same upgrade, going for T2. It's a pretty common upgrade early on, just because, like I said, it does turn your commander into kind of a building powerhouse, and giving them access to T2 tech. Very impressive. And blue is actually going to help his ally here. He's going to speed up the process there of that construction, of getting him to T2. So, yeah. Just like an escalation, once you get to T2, that will give you quite an advantage, just in terms of your tech, and in terms of your economy, and just what you have available to you. So one thing to take note here is that yellow has built 2 naval factories here in the ocean, and that will be pretty important to take over those ponds if you can. Even on maps like this, where the pond is, relatively small, it's still important to get control of the water, because in FAF there are a lot of naval options that can absolutely devastate player bases from the coastlines. So you definitely want to make sure that you do not skimp in the sea. You want to definitely take that over. And blue doing exactly that. He's making his own little naval emplacement to try to take control of this southwestern pond. So very nice there. But it does look like gray wanting to take control of the middle here. He has a couple T2 point defenses and a tactical missile defense, and building a shield generator. So that should give the northern team full control of the middle for now. And we're going to have to see what happens. Red with a transport that was carrying engineers, but gray flying some fighters in there to take care of that. But again, at the moment, nothing too extraordinary going on. Both teams just seem to be tacking up. And it can sometimes in a 2v2 be difficult to break the positions of your opponent. Blue sending a single attack submarine towards his opponent. And he does submerge this. For a second there it was above water, but he will submerge this submarine so that it can't be attacked above water. But that is an interesting feature in FAF. These submarines can either stay under the water, or they can come onto the surface as well, and then we'll get like a little laser, a surface-mounted laser weapon if they decide to do that. But yeah, red mounting an attack here in the north. Just an army of Thams, which is the Seraphim medium tank. And we'll have to see if he can get anything accomplished there. Gray now noticing and sending his own medium tanks into the combat, and that should... Well, we'll see. I mean, red kind of avoiding those and moving north with his little army. And we'll have to see if he can get anything accomplished there. Gray doesn't seem to be reacting amazingly well to what he's doing, but we'll just keep it. We'll try to keep an eye on that for now. But here we go in the sea. The naval combat continuing to happen. One thing is these frigates. They're decent for targets on the sea. But for targets in the sea, for targets underwater, like submarines, they have no underwater capabilities, so they have no way to deal with those subs. So that could turn the battle here, but blue with some Zooies, bringing those into the combat as well, but yellow does seem to have plenty to deal with those. And even bringing a bomber in here as well. Gonna try to get some engineers. He does kill 3 with that bombing run. Not bad. Not a bad pickup for a single bomber. 3 engineers. So again, this battle does seem to continue to be pretty close here in the bottom pond, but otherwise, not too much happening on the map. I could speed it up here a little bit. Now red is upgrading his commander with gun speed and range. He has given himself a cannon to do combat with. And that means that his commander both has the T2 upgrade and the cannon, which should give him quite an advantage in combat. Gray's going to push in here, but red has a lot of stuff, and that's going to be difficult to... that commander is going to be difficult to stop. Commander with 13,500 health, 2 upgrades there. He is quite a beefcake. But okay, now yellow on T2. He does seem to be the first player to get T2 naval in this pond. And the Salem class destroyer is no joke. These can absolutely decimate the Trident class frigates. Just the T1. Basic T1 frigates will kind of crumble under the weight there. So yellow looks to be taking complete control of the sea here. And as you can see, each volley from that destroyer, the Cybran destroyer, the Salem class, doing so much damage, and it will take out this naval factory in no time flat. So it does look like yellow probably going to win the battle for that pond. In the middle we have another engagement, mostly just Thams. However, red does have some Ilshavos mixed in. And as I mentioned in my last cast, my last FAF cast, Ilshavo, arguably the best T2 unit in the game. Absolute dreadful combination. Terrifying combination of firepower, damage, move speed, and I don't know, just pure awesome, to be completely honest. This is the potentially the strongest T2 unit in the game. So blue kind of encroaching on red's base here, building some T2 point defenses on the ridge there, and those will pump out some DPS. But again, yellow has taken control of this bottom left pond, and blue is some amphibious tanks, bringing those into the fray. But I doubt those are going to get too much accomplished. And red continuing to push through with these Ilshavos. There doesn't look to be enough to really get too much accomplished there, but again, blue does have this this little base, this forward base, right outside of yellow's, and he could build some artillery installations on the hill here, which would be like, say, the equivalent to a Guardian or a Toaster, to kind of shell down on yellow's base. We'll have to see what he wants to do there. But yeah, overall, red has built some tactical missile launchers, and he is sending these tactical missiles to take out targets from afar think he's going to take out this land factory. With this tactical missile launcher, he already took out all these metal, or these 3 mass extractors as well, sending more tactical missiles. Going to take out another factory there. But tactical missile launchers in FAF work a little differently than they do in, say, Escalation. In Escalation, they're designed. They have more of a. They're shorter range and have a large AOE, so they're pretty good actually, even for armies. Same thing in BAR as well, but in FAF it's a little different. In FAF the AOE is quite small. It's almost like a pinpoint. The tactical missile is almost like a pinpoint accurate, like Tomahawk missile. It has a huge range. Let me see if I can actually see the range here. So that's the range, that yellow circle. It can hit like over half the map. It's massive. Here, we'll get back to that in a second. Blue has built some torpedo bombers, and he is absolutely taking revenge on the sea here, dropping those torpedoes into the water. And it doesn't look as though Yellow has built enough air defense, so these torpedo bombers are having a field day on the bottom left pond, taking out anything and everything in that vicinity. And with that, Yellow will be almost completely kicked out of the ocean. He had such a strong stranglehold on the bottom left pond there, but built no air defense at all. So so Blue will just mosey on in there with a group of about 12 torpedo bombers and just completely clear out that pond. Very well played by him. So yeah, again, nice job. There is Blue building these Gunthers. As I mentioned before, the Gunther, the T2 artillery installation. And each one of these shots from the artillery installations, very powerful. It can take out a group of units. Or if they get a direct hit, they can do pretty serious damage to structures as well. So Blue is going to be sieging Yellow's base here, and Yellow throwing up some shields as quickly as possible to try and delay this onslaught. But he does take out that shield generator, and desperately working on a second shield generator, rebuilding the first one that died. A shell does land here, and we'll take out that that land factory. So the problem is, especially the Cybran shield generators, they don't have a huge amount of AOE, so Blue can just target other things than the shields, even if he does get them up. And as Blue builds more of these Gunthers, it will be harder and harder to shield all that. But in the meantime, Red moving through with quite a few Ilshavos. It's a respectable size army here. But Gray has his own Ilshavos, so doesn't look like that's going to be enough to push through. But Red is on T3 air here. And T3 air in FAF is just as scary as it might sound. Similar to T3 air in Escalation, it is absolutely game-changing, especially if you get that tech first and kind of surprise your opponent. T3 air also quite powerful in aerial combat. So Red attempting to get some air dominance here, fighting this squad of T1 fighters with the air superiority fighters, and does look to lose a bomber there, but Blue with a nice counterattack here as well. He's got a good mix of T1 and T2 here, attempting to maybe get a run by. He will take out that one. Land factory there, but overall maybe not too impactful. Red with a T3 bomber here, a strategic bomber. The first one he had didn't do much. And these strategic bombers can be absolutely devastating if microed well. Here we go. I think he's going to take this out. Takes out the mass extractor and the land factory with this bomber. And does Gray have enough air defense to stop this bombing run? T1 anti-air just won't do much. Dropping another bomb, it seems. Gonna hit that. He almost kills the land factory, but he does take out 2 metal extractors. Very impressive. And yeah, this bomber continuing to just wreak havoc all over Gray's base. Going to get another bomb out, and I think he's going to hit this mass extractor. No, he goes for the factory HQ, the air factory HQ. It's a bit surprising. But finally this bomber is taken out before it can get much else accomplished. That was pretty effective bombing runs there. However, Blue's little forward base here is now being overwhelmed by Yellow's army. And just in the nick of time, because those Gunthers, the artillery installations, were doing massive damage to Yellow's base. As you can see, he had already taken out all the shields, taken out a lot of the mass and factories as well. So in the nick of time, they will take out this forward base of Blue's before it can become too devastating of a problem to deal with. And Blue with his own little counterattack here into Red's base, but there just really isn't enough here, I think, to get too much accomplished with this particular raid, and I do think Red will clean that up without much trouble. Another problem here is these T2 cruisers. So this is what I was talking about before. This is why it becomes so important to control the water, even on maps like this that are mostly land. So this map is like, what, 80% land or something to that effect. But even just these tiny pockets of water can be devastating if you let your opponents get them. Because what you have are these cruisers. This is the Seraphim cruiser. And what it does is it shoots out tactical missiles non-stop for free every few seconds in a endless volley onto the land. And if there's enough cruisers shooting out enough tactical missiles, you can simply win the game that way, or at least destroy most of your opponent's base with an endless supply of missiles that are very difficult to counter. Now Red is building some tactical missile defenses here, and those will, at the very least, slow the tactical missiles down. But, yeah, the problem is, in some ways, there's just not enough tactical missile defense in the world. Once your opponent gets enough cruisers, it will become a massive, massive problem for Red to deal with. But for now, he is keeping this at bay with these tactical missile defenses. They are shooting up in the air, doing their best to try to stop the endless onslaught of free spammy missiles. So Red with an attempt to do a push here, but this is pretty well defended by Blue. And Blue is now on T3 building some bricks. The brick, somewhat similar, I guess, to the can. They are slow but deadly, very hard to kill, and with a lot of health. And ooh, Gray with some gunships now moving in here to take out these tactical missile defenses. That is an absolutely devastating play. Once these tactical missile defenses are gone, it is free reign. It is open season on all these factories. And oh my god, the cruisers are just shelling Red's base now with tactical missiles. These gunships taking out all the tactical missile defense. giving his cruisers free rein to just shower Red's base with an endless stream of missiles, and Red finally bringing air defense here to try to take care of those gunships. But is it too little, too late? There are just so many tactical missiles flying in now, and each one so devastating, so hard to deal with. Red is in a lot of trouble. These tactical missiles definitely putting him in a stranglehold, taking out most of his base there. And the range is actually pretty large, as you can see. Yeah, that green circle on the outer edge there is the range of the tactical missiles that they can hit. So it's huge. These missiles can hit a huge range. As long as Gray has vision or radar to see his targets. But yeah, Gray on T3 himself here, and all the players seem to be advancing to Tech 3 land. So that will bring the game into more of a parity on the ground. But again, as I was saying earlier, what's happening in the sea is perhaps even more important, as he takes out yet another factory. Even all these tactical missile defenses not going to be enough to slow down all that aggression. A big battle here happening in the middle as well. Gray bringing in some more gunships to take out the tactical missile defense. Very well played. As we've already seen, once the tactical missile defense is gone, then it is a open season for those cruisers. Let's check out the player bases and see what they're up to. See if they're working on anything sneaky or cheeky or out of the ordinary that we might not expect at this point in the game. Red has a lot of energy. So just looking at both the players' economies. Red and blue are almost dead even at like 180, 182 metal per second. So it's a very close game in terms of eco. And Red with a ton of artillery here. There's tactical missile cruisers continuing to apply pressure to Red's base, who is desperately throwing up as much tactical missile defense as he can afford. And he also has some T2 point defenses here that should protect him, at least for now, against the bulk of Gray's army. But we'll have to see. Still a very close game, but yeah, I have to say those cruisers in the sea on the north there definitely making a difference. And now these bricks coming into play. Bricks will absolutely shred this army. Red's got to be careful. These bricks are very well positioned to kill all these Zooies. But yeah, as I said, Gray continuing his onslaught from the sea. And now blue even with a destroyer. The Cybern destroyer can actually sprout legs and walk on land. So if he so pleases, blue could build some destroyers and attack from the south entrance here into the enemy base. We will have to see what happens. But again, blue now building a Monkey Lord. The Monkey Lord, it is the cheapest land experimental, but don't let that fool you. Just because it is the cheapest does not mean it isn't expensive. It is quite expensive. Let's see here how much it costs. 20,000 metal, nothing to scoff at. And it will take 15 minutes to build if it was just this engineer. Obviously, as you add more engineers to the mix, you can decrease the time it takes to build, but of course you also increase the amount of resources that you are using. And nice little air battle here. Both teams vying for air control, air dominance. And in the middle as well, just playing a bit of footsies. Gray almost has enough, it feels like, to take Red's base. Red has spent so many resources just building these tactical missile defenses and attempting to stop this endless sea aggression from the cruisers that he could potentially just push in and wipe out Red's base. Maybe he doesn't have quite enough, but certainly it seems like he's getting close. And let's see, how's this Monkey Lord doing? Monkey Lord at about a third of the way or so. Is Red building an experimental? They are. So Red building a chicken, which we talked about in our previous FAF cast, the Seraphim Walker experimental. Here comes that Salem class destroyer, which will sprout legs here, and it will begin to walk on land and slowly make its way towards Red's base. These powerful long-range cannons. So yeah, we'll have to see. Of course, you'll need more than one destroyer. Really wants to get a lot accomplished down there. And yeah, at this moment we could probably speed it up a little bit because we're just kind of in a lull here as players continue to build up their forces and kind of finish their experimentals. There's a bit of a delay in the action. That destroyer, though, continuing to walk forward and do quite a bit of damage on its own, surprisingly. Yellow with a bit of an attack here, but there's just not enough there to get too much accomplished. And a few gunships will come and clean up that destroyer, so that won't be, in the end, that won't be too much of a threat either. Now Gray does have this sniper bot, and as we saw in the previous cast, these sniper bots can be pretty devastating. Each shot taking out a unit, especially these T1 units. But it does look like this chicken is finished. And once these are complete, they are amphibious, so that he can go into the water and kind of sneak through and pop out the other side if he so wishes. But, you know, these experimentals are a little bit slow. So we'll speed it up here. I assume he wants to make a frontal assault on Blue's base. We'll have to see. Right now, taking out the naval factory with it. And, yeah, now walking toward Blue's base with this monster. But I don't know if with just one assault bot with no support, if that's going to be enough. Bricks are pretty good against experimentals. And Yellow now bringing in his support. Certainly these experimental can do quite a bit of damage. But now this Monkey Lord coming in as well to enter the fray. Put a stop to this madness. And once this Monkey Lord locks on to the chicken, it will melt its HP bar extremely quickly. That powerful red laser does a ton of damage. Though he's going to want to finish it. It's just at a sliver of health, 1500. Okay, he does finish it. But of course, when a chicken dies, I don't know if you're watching, you may or may not have known this, but when the Seraphim Experimental dies, it does leave a lightning storm, which will continue to kind of float around and zap everything indiscriminately and deal even more damage to the base. So great job by Red getting that into range of Blue's base before finally dying. In the meantime, Gray has finally pushed in, as I had recommended earlier. Gray seemed to have more than enough to maybe break Red's base. And it seems that he has broken the base. But Blue now with a counterattack with his little Monkey Lord. Going to see if he can get some revenge after losing a large chunk of his own base. However, there is a lot of defense here. And Yellow bringing in his units. Yellow reclaiming the Monkey Lord. That's what it looked like. And a big battle for the sky as well. So in the end, that Monkey Lord will be forced to retreat. And will it make it away before it finally dies? It does seem like it will get underwater. Once it's underwater, it should be safe. But again, this relentless naval aggression from Gray, taking out everything within the range of these cruisers. As you can see, any red building or structure or unit in the range of these cruisers will inevitably fall to the might of the endless tactical missile spam. Blue does save this Monkey Lord to fight another day. It is at less than 10,000 health, but it will regenerate that health over time. And it's not looking good for Team 2 at this point. It's been a pretty close game and very back and forth on both sides, but giving Gray, giving the North team control of that pond has just been an absolutely devastating. Gray did move in and take out most of that base. Now moving in here with gunships as well. Have to give props to Gray. He has done a good job using these gunships throughout the game to his little raiding missions, taking out the tactical missile defenses or mass extractors. Very effective, but Red now with a second experimental assault bot, and that Monkey Lord will show its face on land, and it will get killed almost instantly. So perhaps not the best spot to walk that up onto the land. And this time, Blue doesn't have almost any defense at all. So this Euthotha should be able to wreak absolute havoc in Blue's base. There's just not enough defense here to stop it from really doing whatever it wants. So we'll have to see how the northern team wants to react to that. The northern team is ahead, but perhaps a last desperate push with this Euthotha. It's got some air defense in the background to stop maybe bombing runs from taking it out. And but Gray with his own chicken walking in here. He will attempt to stop this push. Obviously, these two Euthothas will be pretty evenly matched, and Blue also bringing some gunships into the fight as well. But as I said, Red did bring air defense, and that air defense will fill the sky with flak. It will push those gunships away. Unfortunately, that chicken, Red's chicken, now almost dead, and Gray's at full health chasing it down. So he will be forced to retreat. And in the meantime, Gray doing another push with units with some siege tanks. And he's got some shields here. A good mix of units. He's even got some T3 mobile artillery as well. Now, one interesting thing, the mobile artillery in this game, generally speaking, has to deploy to fire. But maybe the Seraphim ones that hover, so they don't have to. Oh no, these do deploy. It says right there, deploys. So even still, this T3 artillery is quite devastating. Each shot doing quite a bit of damage, but Red has another chicken, and he will use that to stop this push in its tracks. This counterattack with the Euthotha and siege tanks should be more than enough to take that out. And as you can see, Gray now in full retreat. That experimental just proving too much for that army to handle, fearsome though it was. And yet another aerial combat here, fighting for control of the skies. Are Red and Blue. Blue does seem as though he will come out victorious. He simply has more fighters. And now Gray has a megalith. The megalith is it is a Cybran creation. It is kind of a medium to long range artillery bot. It can outrange these Euthothas. It has more health, and it does quite a bit of damage. Very accurate as well. So Red does have a chicken here, but once both the megalith and the Euthotha of Gray's begin to target this, it should die very quickly. And that megalith is still full health, so that is terrifying threat for the northern team. There's also a Monkey Lord here, but again, the Monkey Lord may take out the chicken, but this megalith is just so much stronger than the Monkey Lord, and it will pick it apart from a massive range and just kill it there. And yeah, the problem is that, as you can see, that red circle is the range of the megalith, so it can kill everything with near impunity from a pretty large range. And it's unlikely that yellow will have anything to stop this. Red again with this desperate counterattack here at the top left. This chicken that he retreated into the water earlier, now bringing it back for another attempt. But is it too little, too late? This megalith is quite a terrifying foe, and it will take out that shield generator really quickly. Red with another Ythotha entering the combat, but again, Megalith is quite a bit more expensive as a unit, and also quite a bit stronger. I just don't think the chicken is just going to have enough DPS to bring it down, especially with all these siege tanks in the back. And again, that Megalith does get it to about half health, but not enough to finish it off. And yeah, the southern team is in a lot of trouble here. There's just really, it seems like they don't have an answer for this Megalith that is going to slowly pick apart their base. And again, another fight for aerial control here between red and blue, but blue just has a lot more fighters. And yellow does end up, I missed the bombing run there, but he does end up taking out that Megalith with a well-timed bombing run that I missed as I was watching the fight for aerial control there. But that Megalith will die. The problem is that the northern team has so much more of the map, and their economy is so much bigger at this point that it is going to be hard for them to for the south to come back into the game. And just kind of speed it up a little. And blue now with the Soul Ripper. The Soul Ripper, the Cybran experimental gunship. It's quite a formidable experimental, especially if you have enough air defense to protect it. These things can die really quickly to air superiority fighters, but if properly escorted and protected, they can kind of win the game on their own. And as you can see, he's already taken out 4 T3 power generators on his own here. The southern team realizing it's over. I think this Soul Ripper probably will be the last straw. And now targeting Red's commander. As you can see, he will die extremely quickly to the cannons of this Soul Ripper. Attempting to dodge them, but in vain, as he will ultimately pop there. Commander will explode, and Team 2 is no more. So, guys, that was a close game. It seemed pretty back and forth on both sides, but ultimately, Team 1 does pull it out with some better team play and better use of their experimentals, and certainly controlling this pond was a huge factor here. All these cruisers with so many kills. So, guys, if you enjoyed that, please like the video, subscribe to the channel. I do enjoy doing this, but I would like to get as many people as I can to watch these. It is a lot of fun to have a community, and I really appreciate you guys watching these games. So thank you for watching. If you have any requests, put it in the comments and let me know what you thought. Okay. Have a good weekend.